son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
He'll be an outcast. I'll kill him.
How? He'll be a god to them.
Hey guys, Lucas here again for another movie review. As you can see, I am in a different location. I mentioned in my last video that I would be going out of town, but pretty much this is the only video I have to make while I'm here. But while I am here, I have the privilege of seeing my most anticipated movie of the summer, and I do not have a Superman shirt that I own, so wasn't wearing it, but did get to see Man of Steel, the new Superman reboot that's produced by Christopher Nolan and directed by Zack Snyder and stars Henry Cavill as Superman, Amy Adams as Lois Lane, Michael Shannon as General Zod, and a whole slew of other actors. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Superman, the character. I feel like there's interesting qualities about him, but compared to other superheroes, he's just not relatable or really all that interesting. And I've never seen any of the Superman films, and never really have I had a desire. But while that being said, the trailers for this movie made it look incredible, and put Christopher Nolan's name or his involvement on anything, and I'm going to be interested. And I just thought this movie looked incredible. So what did I think? First, I'm going to talk about Henry Cavill, specifically as Superman. I've never really seen any of his work. I haven't seen Immortals, and I haven't seen his work on the show The Tudors, so I really didn't know what to expect going in. He could have been great, he could have been terrible, and I think he has a nice balance of charm and charisma, but also having that very serious side to him. He never blew me away, but he's very good in the action sequences, and I think he balances Clark Kent or Kal-El's his heroism and also the conflict that he has inside him. And this story is an origin story. It starts off with Jor-El, played by Russell Crowe, on Krypton, and the planet is getting destroyed, and it starts with the origin story that we all know about how Superman or Kal-El is born, and they ship him off to Earth so he can live, and General Zod, played by Michael Shannon, he has to find him so he can continue and recreate the planet of Krypton, and they have this conflict because Superman has fallen in love with the humans and wants to protect Earth, but General Zod will do anything to recreate Krypton and bring his planet back, and it also deals with how he becomes Superman and him dealing with it and learning to conquer his demons and where he comes from. I thought Michael Shannon was good as General Zod. I didn't think he owned the role like he could have. I would have seen that little bit more over the top Michael Shannon. Not even over the top, but just maybe he seemed very stone-faced, and I wish he would have gotten a little bit more chances to lash out. But that being said, he was still really good. He was very believable in the action scenes, and he was still pretty menacing. I really loved Russell Crowe as Jor-El, Superman's father. He was very badass, but at the same time very subdued, and I really like that, and Russell Crowe just brings this really interesting and awesome screen presence. And I really loved Diane Lane and Kevin Costner as, Ma and Pa Kent, the adoptive parents of Cal, and I thought Diane Lane and Kevin Costner, especially Kevin Costner, who is a very dodgy actor with me. Sometimes I like him and sometimes I don't. I thought he brought a lot of emotion to this movie, and he was maybe even my favorite. I just thought he was really good in the emotional scenes, and just really bought him as a father. Amy Adams as Lois Lane I thought was fine. I'm going to talk about her more later, and I thought she was good in the movie, but I don't think it was her fault that she was more of a forgettable character. Now, this was my most anticipated movie of the summer, and I know a lot of people have been very mixed on it, and I know a lot of people found it disappointing. Personally, I found it a little disappointing, but I still really liked it, and I still think there's a lot to love in this movie, and I'm surprised with the amount of negative backlash this really is getting. I thought the first 2/3 of this movie were just spot on. I really liked the pacing of everything. I really like how it was really developing the themes and really building up to him becoming Superman. And I just felt like everything was handled really well, whether it's the tone or the setup with Zod and Superman's conflict coming to a head. I just thought everything was really well done, and they bring a lot of these interesting themes, and I thought for the most part all of the emotional beats were there, especially the ones, like I said, with Kevin Costner. So I just thought everything, the cinematography, the acting, to the pacing, was just great for the first two-thirds of this movie. And there is an insane amount of action in this movie. Some of the best filmed or choreographed or just straight up intense action sequences I've seen all year and probably in a long time. And since this isn't the Batman trilogy where it's very grounded in reality and he has no superpowers, since Superman can basically do anything, you can do anything in terms of action, and they really take advantage of that, whether it be in space or just in the air or just the straight up fight scenes. It looks amazing, and the special effects were pretty incredible, and just the scope of everything, this movie is insane. And if you're an action fan, the climax to this movie will make you climax, because that's how much action is in it. However, the thing that makes this movie really good instead of great for me is that action, and not because it's bad, but the climax of this movie is just really bloated. The climax of this movie is a good 45 minutes to an hour, and I felt like if they could have cut at least 25 minutes from the climax, this would have been a perfect movie, because there are multiple times during this huge action scene in Metropolis between Superman and General Zod's army that I felt was over a couple of times. I actually thought like the climax and the movie was wrapping up, and then they had another huge battle, and I was just like, this is too much. And while you care about what's happening on the screen, it kind of has that Star Trek syndrome where it's just so much at one time and it's continuous and continuous that you just start to get exhausted. That being said, the action in that sequence is some of the most epic action I've seen in a long time, but it just gets repetitive after a while. But that being said, it is pretty fun to look at. That was the major problem I had with this movie, and if I had to nitpick on some things, like I said, I wish some characters were more memorable or better developed, especially Lois Lane. I liked Amy Adams in this movie. I just felt like when I walked out of it, I just kind of forgot about her character, and I felt like she could have been given more to do, or at least given more memorable stuff to do, and her dialogue and her interaction with Henry Cavill seemed a little bit underdeveloped and a little bit rushed. And the film is 2.5 hours long, and like I said, that climax really drags it out, and near the end, or the last 30 minutes or so, you're really aware that, wow, this is a really long movie, and I was almost tempted to check what time it was. I didn't, because I was still entertained, but I was thinking, this needs to wrap up pretty soon. Overall, is Man of Steel a little bit of a disappointment? Yeah, because those trailers were amazing and maybe couldn't live up to that. However, I still think this is a damn good superhero movie and a damn good summer movie. I just felt like it could have been great, but a lot of the action and the need to really, really make this a huge, epic summer movie kind of bogs down the more emotional and storytelling aspects of it that I really dug. But that being said, I'm surprised the amount of negative backlash towards the movie. I still think it's really good. I just think maybe our expectations were too high for it. That being said, I'm going to go a really strong 4 out of 5-star rating on this movie. I still am very excited for the sequel and where they could go further with this franchise. I just think they could improve on the script a little bit, because there are some scenes with dialogue that are pretty lame. Like there's a line that Superman says to General Zod, like, "You're a monster, and I'm gonna stop you." Like I said, just maybe cut down the amount of action is in that, and I don't really say that a lot, but it really just bogged this movie down a lot for me. But I'm still really liking this movie a lot. I want to know what you guys thought. Did it live up to your expectations? Were you disappointed like most people? What do you think this is? Where does this rank in your Superman canon? Do you like the original films better, or were you digging this more? So if you like this review, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.
They'd reject me. He was convinced that the world wasn't ready. What do you think?
What's the S stand for?
It's not an S. On my world, it means hope.
Well, here it's an S. How about
Excuse me.